Well, the unofficial start of summer just around the corner with our Memorial holiday weekend. I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods, and we've got a variety of weather throughout Northern California, from the beach to the valley to the mountains. We've got you covered on what to expect for this weekend, and a couple of highlights here for our headlines. It's going to be a cool start to the holiday weekend. We also have some very cold waterways right now due to a lot of snow melt, and some showers expected for parts of Northern California. We really haven't had too much to worry about. The past couple of days had those gusty northwest winds coming down through the valley, and that warmed us up quite a bit. Those are starting to back off as we start to see a couple of bigger weather features just to the north of us kind of suppress that high pressure ridge that's been over us. Not only is that going to bring us some cooling in the forecast, but also the potential for some showers all the way through the Pacific Northwest. So occasionally we'll see some cloud cover come through for our Friday in the valley. Most of the showers as we wrap up the work week will be in that northeast corner of California, just kind of riding right along the border there. Some of them trying to make their way as far down as just to the north of I-80, kind of struggling to do so. We still have that drier air mass over us, but also of note, lots of low clouds and fog along the coast. It's going to be a really chilly start to the forecast, especially throughout the coastal area. For our Memorial Day weekend forecast for the valley, here's some of the changes, just kind of highlighting the general overview here. 76 for Saturday in Sacramento, 83 on Sunday, and then warming back to around 88 by Monday. Kind of a variety of weather and really nice for anything that you may be doing. Camping, going for a picnic, barbecue, or perhaps you're hitting the waterways. Here's a look over Folsom Lake, some drone footage that we took just a couple days ago, and you can see the beautiful conditions. Now, keep in mind, last year, really big water year for us. We had a lot of issues with flooding. I was able to talk to the Department of Water Resources today, and they let me know that things are actually flowing right about average. That is a rarity in California. We rarely get to talk about averages, but this year, on the heels of that big water year last year, really was just one of those situations where we ended up near average for precipitation, near average for our snowpack, and now it looks like that snow melt also near average, filling our reservoirs, also our rivers, which happen to be running not only cold and fast, but also really high. We're right about at the peak of seeing the highest flows right now. They will start to back off as we head into the summer season, and there's so much to unpack there in terms of how our waterways really start to shift. Department of Water Resources also saying that watch out for some debris due to some fires over the past couple of years. There's still some timber and some logs that may be flowing down. So just a couple of those hazards to watch out for. Let's get to those water temperatures, and you can see they're anywhere from about 55 to 65 degrees right now, at least for much of the valley. Now, as you head closer to the Delta, those water temperatures tend to warm just because they have spent a lot of time away from that immediate snow melt. But the Sierra and foothill waters, still about 33 to 55 degrees, depending on where you are. I will mention that there are free life jackets at many of the waterways, but if you're doing any hiking, you may just not have that life jacket on. One slip can send you into some really cold water up there throughout the foothills. Our Lake Tahoe water temperature is only at 50 degrees. Probably not a ton of people out at Lake Tahoe on the waters, but if you are doing some boating, watch out for that. It is going to be quite cold. So what do these water temperatures even mean? When they're below 77 degrees, your breathing can become affected. Just kind of take your breath away for a moment. By the time you get to about 70 to 60 degrees, it is difficult to breathe. Now, you begin to lose control at about 50 to 60 degrees, but once we get below that 40-degree threshold, you lose control of your limbs, and then it makes it really difficult to make any sort of water rescue because you can't really manage to get over to the side because it's just more difficult to kind of move your body at that point. How does that cold water flow down into the lower elevations? Well, we'll take a look at that snow melt path. Again, we're pretty much at the tail end of this, but we have a lot of snow up in the Sierra that melts during the spring season. So it enters many of our waterways. I'm just taking a little snapshot here of a couple of these waterways, including the American River, the North, Middle, and South Fork there, right in between that 80-50 corridor as it flows out of Lake Tahoe here. And then the Feather River, that's going to be associated with Lake Oroville. That's where we get the main headwater there for our reservoir. And you can see that here, Lake Oroville, just up to the north and east of Marysville, and then Folsom Lake, which feeds a big metropolitan area through Sacramento, and a lot of recreation along many of those waterways. Now, once those water releases happen, we start to see those flow into downtown Sacramento. So almost everything that's flowing through Northern California flows through Sacramento, eventually into Discovery Park, and then it will make its way as it continues its southward and westward trek out towards the Delta, and then eventually out towards the Bay. So this is going to be about the warmest spot that we see right now with our waterways, again, just because it's had so much travel time through so many other bodies of water away from that snow melt. All right, taking a look at that snow water equivalent, things are pretty low right now. That is expected, especially with some recent rains and warmer temperatures. Our snow water equivalent a little bit on the low side. That's another question I posed to the Department of Water Resources. I said, is this something to be concerned about? And they said, not really, because we had such a great water year last year, and this year things are still flowing pretty close to average. So although our snow water equivalent a little bit lower than what we would expect at this point, things are really healthy for our reservoirs and all of our water supply. So some good news right there. Statewide average to date, 62%. I did want to hit on some of those water supply reservoir levels, because when you see some of these numbers, it's just great news, especially as we head into the drier part of the year where our water demand becomes a lot higher. We've got a lot to feed California with. Right now, Trinity is at 87% capacity. Shasta, our largest reservoir, at 96% capacity, so no bathtub lines around many of our reservoirs. Oroville, 100%. Folsom at 95%, where you saw some of that beautiful drone footage just a moment ago. New Melones, 87. Don Pedro, 92. San Luis, that's an off-stream pump water reservoir where they're really able to manage the flow. 63% full right now, and Millerton is at 100% of capacity. So most of our reservoirs are full. I wanted to show you Folsom Lake just so you can see a comparison to last year when we had that epic snowpack in the Sierra. And even though our snowpack wasn't as high this year in this shaded area, that's our average, we are still well above average for Folsom, nearly reaching capacity. So we're starting to see some of that potentially start to come out, and you might see some releases happening just as, again, we head into that higher water demand time. But overall, lots of water. Still need to conserve. We're always every year in a drought from about June until October. So every year we have to deal with no precipitation coming in. As far as where we stand for our rainfall and statewide precipitation, we're a little bit below average for Sacramento and Redding. South Lake Tahoe, that's going to account for total precipitation, both snow and rain, nearly 6 inches below average, and Palm Springs below average. But right along the coast, looking pretty good here all the way through the Central Valley. One of the areas that was a little bit harder hit with not as much precipitation coming through in parts of Southern California, we really saw some good gains this year. Nice to see those numbers coming up as well. Normal rainfall, it just absolutely drops off by the time we get to our July, August, and even into September averages. You can see we basically get nothing in July, August, and only about 2/100ths of an inch of rain. June, oh, we can pull in about 1/4 of an inch, but that's on a good year. Average rainfall in total for downtown Sacramento, only about 19 inches. And the big bulk of that comes in December, January, February, sometimes March. But at this point, it's really rare to get a good soaking rain. Now, conversely, our average temperatures are on their way up. So this is why I'm talking about the biggest demand for water, more evaporation. What we have at this point is all we're going to have all the way through these dry and warm summer months. And we're just around the corner from seeing some of those really extreme temperatures. The average first day benchmarks, right about Memorial Day, people start asking, ooh, Are we in for a really hot summer, or when's that first 100 coming our way? Well, it's not too far off here. The first 95-degree day actually today, May 21st, the average first day of that. First 100-degree day, June 5th, and then 105, July 2nd, right before July 4th, and 110 right around July 21st. Again, that's going to be our running average of that. Average number of days with 90-plus degree temperatures, 88, 95 is 53. Now we'll start to see those numbers go down. 100-plus days, 23, 105, 6. And yes, we still have to count those 110-degree days. One day is what we average for downtown Sacramento. Since June is just around the corner, I just wanted to highlight kind of what we saw last year, what the average is, especially as we start to drive into some of those bigger heat impacts by the time we get into our summer months. So our average high is close to 90 degrees. Last year, we were a little bit on the cool side at about 86 degrees or so. Average low, 58.7 degrees. The average low, a really important benchmark for us to look at as well, because as we start to see a warming climate, that's one of those numbers that continues to drive its way northward and getting warmer and warmer. Last year, we were a little bit on the cool side there. Average rainfall, just mentioned that, around 1/4 of an inch or so. Last year, we only had 1/100th of an inch of rain. So you can see that it's kind of rare to get a good soaking rain. Now, the hottest day in June 30th, 1934 at 112 degrees. So June is the month where we start to see those 100s. The wettest day in June back in 1993, and it was only less than an inch of rain at 81/100ths of an inch of rain. So it doesn't take much to get those records for precipitation at this point in the year. Not that we're expecting anything over the Memorial Day forecast. This is going to be the actual Monday forecast for us. For the Bay Area, we'll start it off with some cloud cover and then clear those skies. Highs will be in the mid-60s, near 90 for the valley. For the foothills, we'll be in the 80s. And for the Sierra, looking at clear skies, actually beautiful in the higher elevations, right around 73. Wanted to break it down a little bit more for you, though, if you are doing some traveling. As I mentioned, San Francisco is going to be on the cool side, especially for Saturday, with a high of only 61. Lots of low clouds and fog along the coast. And then we'll start to see just a little bit of a warming trend take shape. We'll be in the mid-60s. For the valley, a bit more on the warmer side. 76 is where we started off. Upper 80s is where we're going to end that holiday weekend forecast. For the foothills, if you are camping, one thing to be aware of, heading north of I-80 Friday night into Saturday, a couple of showers expected, but anything south of I-80, not expecting anything in the way of shower activity. In fact, a warmer forecast by Monday, right around 81 degrees. And then for the Tahoe Basin, we'll warm things as well, starting off around 60 on Saturday with partly to mostly cloudy skies. Overnight lows in the 30s, but then sunshine and highs in the low 70s on Monday. So region-wide, an improving forecast here as we head into the end of our holiday weekend, and certainly feeling a little bit more like summer. If you're doing any camping, a couple of those safety tips to keep in mind. Knowing the weather forecast, again, north of I-80, might have to deal with some showers. Notifying family and friends of plans, especially with any hiking, it can be particularly dangerous. Things are a little bit soggy, or perhaps there's some leftover fire dangers and some weakened trees, and you could get trapped somewhere. Plan an evacuation route and shelter. Our fire danger a little bit lower right now. And packing that safety kit and a weather radio. If you're headed towards the coast, I'll start it off from the southern end and move our way northward. Santa Cruz, 57 degrees on that Saturday forecast. Water temperature, 57 degrees. Wave heights aren't going to be too terrible. Half Moon Bay as we move our way just a little bit more to the north, 59 degrees, but that water temperature dropping to 55. Ocean Beach as we head a little bit closer to San Francisco, 54. Water temperature close to the mid-50s again. Point Reyes, 54 degrees. Northwest winds 15 miles per hour. Water temperature will hold right around the mid-50s. But then by the time you head up north of Point Reyes to Fort Bragg, 53, partly to mostly cloudy skies. And that water temperature is closer to about 50 degrees. Wave heights go up as well, about 5 to 6 feet. One thing that we've been looking out for is rip currents. This can be a super dangerous situation if you're headed towards the coast. A lot of people can get stuck in them, and they're pretty much a regular occurrence for much of our Pacific coast. Weather.gov ripcurrent.gov/beach is a great place to go if you really want detailed information on this. But I just wanted to give an overview here. Rip currents can travel at an average speed of 1 to 2 feet per second, but they've been measured as high as 8 feet per second. Now you can see how this is almost like a turbine here. There's this little space right in between where if you're swimming, you can get swept up into that rip current and be taken out very far, very quickly. But there are things you can do to be prepared if you get caught in a rip current. Don't fight it. Swim parallel to the shore to escape the current. And if you can't escape, try to float or tread water. And if there's anybody on the coast, make sure that you call for help or wave for assistance. The bottom line there, never swim alone, and just be prepared if you do get caught in that rip. A lot of surfers use it to get carried out quickly, but if you're swimming, it can be a really scary and dangerous situation. Okay, let's take a look at the shower activity again. Here's the low pressure system that's going to be tracking our way late Friday and through Saturday. It's also going to drive in some of those cooler temperatures to kick off the weekend. Lots of showers throughout the Pacific Northwest and through parts of Canada and through the northeast corner of California. Again, a couple of those showers potentially drifting as far south as about I-80 Saturday morning into the early afternoon, but then it's replaced immediately thereafter with that high pressure ridge sinking warming air, and it's going to change that temperature pattern. We head into the end of the week with that cooler blast of air, below average temperatures to start us off for Saturday, but then right behind it we get back to not only near average but above average conditions for much of central California all the way eastward towards the border. Our whole climate outlook is actually leaning warmer as we head into the beginning of June. Likely wetter right along the coast, but that's predominantly because of that weather pattern that we're dealing with over the weekend. And it's going to keep those showers confined mainly through extreme northern California. We'll certainly watch out for some of those changes, but for the most part, looks like we're going to be in for a dry and warm start to June. Our 5-day regional forecast as we head in through the rest of this week into the beginning of the weekend and through Memorial Day, calling for those warming conditions for the tail end of it, beginning of it. A little bit on the cool side here as we unveil our complete 10-day forecast. This takes us all the way through the end of May, beginning of June, where we see those slightly above average temperatures. But again, our dry forecast is on tap. Well, if you've enjoyed this in-depth forecast, we've got a lot more of it actually on ABC 10 Plus. We've got explainers and weather specials, including our new weather special, The Future of California Water. You can download it for free and watch free on Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV. Hope you have a great holiday weekend.